I'm Owen Bigland. This is the Inside Edge video blog. We're now into late summer 2018. So let's just do a quick 1-minute recap of where the downtown Vancouver condo market is right now. As I speak right now, the Vancouver condo market, especially in the one bedrooms, the studios, the one and dens, priced under $800,000 is still heavily favoring the seller. The seller, not the buyer. Even though I'm hearing some people on my YouTube channel here saying that the market's in free fall, you're seeing things, you're hallucinating. As of right now, that market still favors the seller. Very little inventory. Sales are down, but also listings are down. We're in the dog days of summer. So where this will go later this fall, you'll be the first to know here. But for right now, as I say, there are far few bidding wars than we had 3 or 4 months ago, that's for sure. That said though, probably 20% of the listings for condos under 800 grand are selling over asking. The vast majority now are selling pretty close to ask or just under asking price. If it's a decent unit that doesn't have issues, it's selling within 10 or 15 days. And still, again, favors the seller. We'll see where it goes down the road. Now, the other thing I want to talk about, because we are in the late innings of this condo bull run we've had here, and I've been saying for many years now, eventually it's going to run out of steam. Maybe we're starting to see the early signs of it. The first thing that goes is the bidding wars. That's usually the first sign. The next sign is that inventory starts to creep up. Days on market start to go up, and then that will cause the prices to come down. We may be heading in there. We're going to eventually. But I'm not going to call it yet until I actually see it, and maybe that's going to be this fall. But I always get a lot of people, just like I did back in 2012, just like I did back in 2008, just like I did 15 years ago, will say, oh, you know, you own a lot of real estate. Why wouldn't you, and we're in the late innings here, even you admit that, why wouldn't you be tempted to start selling some of your properties? Some of these guys are saying, why wouldn't you sell your principal residence? Sell it, rent, and then buy back in. Well, I've talked about it many times before. The simple reason is because I'm an investor. I'm not a speculator. I'm not a flipper. I'm an investor, just like all my other experienced investors are. We don't play games with our principal residences, and we don't really play games with our investment properties. We buy them, put tenants in them, and keep them for long periods of time. You know, the other reason is getting in and out of real estate is extremely expensive. I mean, I have a big advantage. I can sell my own rental properties. I can't sell my principal residence because of liability, but my rental properties I can sell. So I'm going to save a tremendous amount on commission, at least half the commission, and all I have to do is pay the cooperating commission. But you can't. So we're talking tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars if you want to liquidate or sell multiple properties. The other thing is you've got to pay the tax man. CRA is going to be looking for the capital gain. 50% of the capital gain is going to be taxable at your marginal tax rate. So I'm in for another several hundred, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 in tax to CRA that I don't want to pay right now. Eventually I will pay the tax man, but I'm too young and still in my accumulation stages to start cutting down my portfolio and paying the tax man. You know, when you buy back in, of course, you're going to have property transfer tax, you're going to have lawyer and notary fees, buying and selling. So, you know, it's the old analogy that Warren Buffett used to say with his stock portfolio, why he likes to buy and hold good S&P American dividend-paying companies. He equates it to a bar of soap. The more you handle the bar of soap, the smaller it gets. It's the same thing with your real estate portfolio or with my stock portfolio. I try and handle it as little as I can. I buy and hold and don't shrink the portfolio. So, you know, the other thing is I've talked about this many times before too. Why would I shoot or kill the goose that's laying the golden eggs for me? I've got properties in Vancouver and in Richmond. I've got good tenants, good long-term tenants that are paying me fat rent checks every month. Why do I want to sell that, shoot the goose that's laying the golden eggs, the rent checks for me, and start all over again later on? It doesn't make any sense. Just like it doesn't make any sense to be getting in and out of stocks in my portfolio. It's expensive to trade in and out, and timing markets is a bit of a mug's game. So for that reason, that's why I'm not tempted whatsoever. Just like I wasn't tempted in 2012 when people were saying, why don't you sell some of your rental properties? Back in 28, they were telling me that. Back 10 and 15 years ago, they were telling me that. Why don't you take the profit now and buy back in when it's half price? Crazy. I mean, God, good thing I didn't listen to them back in 2012, early 2013, because a lot of my properties now are up 60, 70, 80% since then. Plus the $50,000, $60,000, $80,000, $100,000 I've taken in rent income on each of those properties. This is how you create wealth. It's simple. You buy and hold quality assets, whether that's Vancouver real estate or good dividend-paying stocks, or for someone who doesn't want to spend the time, just buy an index fund. Buy the S&P 500. That's all you're going to need. And keep it for 30 or 40 years. It's really simple. That's what my book is based on as well. So for those reasons, that's why I'm not interested in selling. Now, the final thing I'll tell you, I think a lot of people, there are some people that I see commenting on my YouTube channel. I don't think they seem to know or believe a lot of the things I'm saying here are things that I've actually been doing myself for 30 years. This isn't theory. This is practical things that I've been using for over 30 years, and I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Everything that I've recommended on this blog for the last 8 years, I'm doing the same thing. So when I was telling you to buy real estate in 2014, when I was telling you back in 2012, I've done blogs on it, that it's a buyer's market, you should be buying. Prices are off 10 or 15%. I was buying back then. And of course, they're up over 150% since then. Back when I was telling people to be buying all throughout 2013, 14, 15, I was doing the same thing. In late 2015, I did a blog. I had bought 2 investment units in Olympic Village without parking, and I also got a lot of some of my investor clients in on that. So I bought properties in late 2015, took possession in 2016. I also bought a substantial property in 2017, a new principal residence. I would have bought in 2018, this year, but instead I decided to do an extensive reno on my residence, 6-month reno, not cheap. Otherwise, I probably would have earmarked that money and bought another investment unit downtown here. In 2019, if the market goes down or not, I will probably be a buyer again, especially on a number of buildings that I keep an eye on. I want to get into good stratas, good neighborhood, good location. The 1-bedroom units make sense. I can get a $2,300 or $2,400 a month rent for them all day. When the right unit comes up, I'll probably be buying in 2019. So it's not like I advocate all this advice, but don't follow it myself. I would never do that. I would never tell someone to do anything unless I was following it too. And remember that. I've talked about it many times before about looking for people with transparency. My transparency is as clear as glass. Read my book. Not all the bloggers that are talking about Vancouver real estate have that transparency. As a matter of fact, I don't see too many that do. I don't think any of them even own real estate, which is kind of like buying a car from a car salesman who doesn't have a driver's license. So I follow the advice I dole out here. I'm buying just like and recommending that people buy just like I am. So keep that in mind. Look for transparency. I am not going to lose any sleep when we finally do get this overdue market correction that may or may not happen this year or next year. Maybe in 2020, we'll see. You'll be the first ones to know. Right now, the downtown condo market is holding up very strong, especially for dog days of summer. But we'll see. Maybe inventory will build. Maybe we'll get some more mortgage rate hikes. Maybe some more mortgage tightening. Maybe the NDP government will do some more unwielding taxes. Anything they can to try and cool the market. The detached market's cooled and the luxury condo market is cooled. But the condo market under 750, 800, 900K is still very strong, favoring the seller. But eventually it will cool, like I've always said. When it does, you guys will be the first ones to know. I don't have any biases. I'll just kind of switch my angle from that point on. When the market starts to cool, instead of being on the listing side, now you want to be more on the buying side. Now there's good deals out there and you can negotiate a price. I'm Owen Bigland. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, please do. I'll do a little plug for my book. If you haven't bought my book yet on Amazon, I think it'll be the best $10 you spent. Again, I always want to thank everyone who has written me a nice email saying they've bought the book, they've enjoyed it. Makes me feel good. It really makes that 18 months it took me to put that book together and all the time. I tell you, it's rewarded me threefold now. I wasn't expecting to sell anywhere near that many books, and thank you for everyone who's reviewed my book on Amazon. See you next week.